So Hare Krishna. How's everybody? How you doing? Carlos G.
Haribol, I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
Good. Back from New York City. How was that day you went on book distribution? How did it go? We're out in the snow, isn't it?
Yeah, it was good. We managed to give a few Gitas and talk to a lot of people, so it's nice.
Nice. I was on the subway and there was a Christian book distributor. I was like, oh, they must have. It just seemed like he kind of looked like a brahmachari, and I was like, man, they must have got some inspiration because it was like the same vibe. Like he had a microphone and he spoke something, and it was all in Spanish. That was all in Spanish, and he was saying like, and then I have these books for donation. Anybody who would like to get one, but more effective than telling people what to do. Let them read it for themselves and see if it's convincing.
Yeah, it reminds me of this one time I went book distribution and there's a guy and he was like shouting at people. He was like so mad, and I kind of just went by just to see what this whole thing was all about. And of course he was preaching something about Christianity, and so I was talking to his friend who was not shouting at people. And I told him what I'm also there for, just to spread spirituality. But I just kind of left a little bit, and he was still screaming at people, and I just
Oh, we used to get people used to buy books from us just to get them upset because they would shout at him and they're like, oh, look, I want to buy a book from Hare Krishna. And then in Portland they would have, like, I seen them shout at like second graders, like a group of second graders, you're all going to hell, with the microphone and stuff like that. Like, you're seriously doing a big disservice for their spiritual life. But what was I going to say? Oh, they had this sign and it said list different people that are going to hell, and it said like Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, Jewish people, lesbians. And I went and I said, where are the Hare Krishnas? And the next week it said Hare Krishna. I was like, yes. Everybody can chant. So progress made. He added Hare Krishna to the list. Actually, yeah. One second, drop the cat. Yeah, if you make people more antagonistic towards God, then you're to disservice. You're not helping them. Just what is it in 10 offenses? The holy name is called preaching to the faithless, meaning that you're not being mindful where the person's at, and you're increasing their sense of antagonism and increasing their sense of faithlessness rather than helping them move forward. You're putting a block in their way. All right, so looks like this is what we have today. Edward G, how's everything? How are you doing?
Okay, I didn't sleep so well last night. We had a big windstorm come through and it woke me up a couple times. It's a funny thing, I woke up and my clock was flashing. So the power had come back on about an hour and 10 minutes earlier. And then when I went and found out what time it was 1:10. So the power went out and came back on at exactly midnight last night. But anyway, I just woke up still, so I'm feeling kind of groggy.
Yeah.
But otherwise, good.
We had you know how they do New Year's in Dallas, Texas? Any guess, Carlos? Anybody? They shoot guns in the air like crazy. Like it sounds like a war zone. And you have the firecrackers, but then they're like half of the bangs you hear are guns being shot in the air. And so for New Year's, that goes on for it went on till like 2:00. People shooting guns in the air. So hard to sleep. Bah, 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 bah. All kinds of boom, boom, shotguns, all kinds of guns.
Was it
I have
around your neighborhood?
yeah, my neighborhood and all around Dallas. Yeah, yeah. And I have 4 Airbnbs, and I wrote a message to all of them saying, I'm not sure if you're aware of the custom in Dallas, but just wanted to give you a fair warning, just so you're not wondering what's, flipping out, what's going on? Was there a war? What's actually one time I woke up, and this is not the New Year's thing, but we woke up and it was very startling. It sounded like a war. Some truck carrying flammable materials got an accident right, I would say like less than a quarter mile from our house, pretty close. And the containers were exploding, and that sounded like bombs. And so we woke up, and both my wife and I, we were both in New York during 9/11. And so the smell in the air was the same. And we heard these boom, like, this is like 2 in the morning, 1 in the morning, and you hear like these these explosions that you can feel. And we're like, what is going on? What is going on? And first thing I always go is I go to like Twitter, because the news is too slow. If somebody's like something text, so I'm gonna post it on Twitter. So we found out, okay, no war, nothing. It sounded like explosions, and it smelled the same as 9/11. So it was really startling. All right. All right, so we have the 4 types of folks who come towards Krishna. Did you get a chance to look at the 4 types who don't? Edward's nodding his head. Can you tell Carlos what are about the 4 types who don't? And I'm gonna grab my iPad. I left it upstairs because I have just a book, but the iPad's got a little more material. I'll be right back.
Well, I read it a few times. I don't know if I actually remember it. The miscreants, the atheists with a soric nature. That's the first one and the last one. Let's see, how does the verse go?
Is it verse 7.15?
Yeah.
I stopped the shloka studying after 7.14, so maybe you can help me. Yes.
Yeah. So it's let me see. I'm always at my worst remembering things when I'm on the spot.
Well, that's all right. No pressure at all.
I'll just get
Even
Just put you on the hot spot. Hot seat. Too much. What did you say?
Oh, I was just starting to read the Sanskrit so I could remember the English.
Yeah.
Namam duskrutino mudha prabhadyante naradamaha. So that's the lowest of below, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then Mayaya Bharata Jnana, whose knowledge has been stolen by illusion. And then Asuram Bhavam Ashritaha. And that's the people with a soric nature, atheists.
Yeah, so you have the Mudha. That's the American dream. Work hard and you'll get everything will come. You just gotta work hard. If you work hard enough, you can enjoy all kinds of gratification. You just need to work. But the donkey has that mood, like he thinks there's grass everywhere, but he thinks if I spend my whole life just in work, then I'll get to enjoy some grass. But the grass is still everywhere though. And then I also get to see the she donkey in the evening, but then she'll also kicks him in the face. So he's simply kind of chasing after sense gratification and working hard to get that sense gratification. And so he has no time for spiritual life. Then you have the Naradhamas, means a person who has had some civilized spiritual culture, but just left it, just went down. Ada, like yoga, we have Ada Mukha Svanasana. Or Carlos, you remember? Ada Churdvam, so down, Nada, which is mankind going down. And then you have Maya Prahita Jnana, his knowledge, his so-called knowledge. His actual knowledge has been stolen by illusion, meaning his actual knowledge has been stolen by so-called knowledge. Maybe he was a country boy and he had faith in God, but then he entered the nice university and he becomes an atheist. And then you have the last one, was just the openly atheistic, antagonistic mood, like the various demons in Krishna's Leela. Those are just like have open, very strong envy towards the Lord. So those are the 4 types who don't. And now we're going to go over the 4 types who do. Chaturvida bhajante mam jana sukritino arjuna arto jigyasur artarti janicha bharatarshaba. Let's see here, so kind. So I'll just say a little bit about that, and then let's see what we can. We'll read a bunch because there's a lot of stuff to cover here. So you have Chaturvidya, 4 types. Bhajante mam, who bhajate, who worship me. Jana sukritino, 4 types of people. Jana means persons. People. Sukritino, they have kriti and they're using it for a good purpose. They have credit, they have merit, they have intelligence, but they're using it well. Versus the duskritina, those who have credits but use it the wrong way. Arta is the person who is, let's see, 1 second, artarti. Okay, arta jigyasur, arti, arta jigyasur, the distressed. Jigyasur means the inquisitive. Arti, the those who are seeking wealth. Jnanicha bharatarshaba, and those who are seeking God, who are seeking the absolute, the jnani. I remember I read somewhere why the particular order was given in the Sanskrit. I'm trying to remember. Arta jigyasu, arta arti. So in the Bhagavatam, there are examples of these 4. Any guess who came to Krishna in distress? And I give you a hint, it's not a human.
The elephant, Jagan, I forget his name, sorry.
Gajendra, yeah. Gajendra. Gaja is elephant, and Indra, the lord of the elephants, Gajendra, yeah. He was, he came in distress, waving the. And then who came seeking wealth? This is a human.
But the boy, the son of the king who.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. He wanted Dhruva.
Dhruva. I knew it was a D, but I kept thinking Durvasa, and I knew it wasn't Durvasa.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he wanted not just like a small amount of wealth. He wanted a king. He wanted basically a whole universe for himself. He was granted that, even though after seeing the Lord, he said, after seeing you, I don't want any of this stuff. It's like I'm looking for broken pieces of glass and I found the real jewel. Then who's coming that were curious? That would be considered the sages of Naimisharanya. And those who are seeking the absolute truth would be the four Kumaras, who when they first came in contact with Vishnu. So those are the 4 examples in the Bhagavatam. And also you can look at the 4 ashrams, or the 4, not ashrams, the 4 varnas. You have the Shudra, the working class. So we can either be a mudha and have no time, we're only distressed, and we're seeking. Where does the Srimad Bhagavatam start? I think it's 4th canto. It's 4th canto. You can be, at Shudra, and you can be in distress, and you can not use your credits right, and you just think that your salvation will come from more hard work, or you can use your credits in a good way, and you could come. I think even if there's a crossover in the other 4, but the 4 who don't, but the 4 who do, can be related to the 4 varnas. So the Shudras are often in distress. Actually, the word shut means to lament. Kind of a Sudra quality is to kind of whine and complain about things. That's to lament about things, to whine and complain. That's like then the businessmen, business class, are obviously approach God seeking wealth. Then you have the Kshatriyas. They want to know who's in charge. They're curious, inquisitive. And the Brahmana is someone who is seeking Brahman, seeking the absolute truth. So you have those 4 also cross over into that. All right, so I'll read the translation and purport, and we'll also cover the commentaries too. We'll just read those as quick as we can. Unlike, O best of the Bharatas, 4 kinds of pious men begin to render devotional service unto me: the distressed, the desire of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching after the knowledge of the absolute truth. Okay, someone want to read that first paragraph? If you have it in front of you.
Is it the purport?
The purport, yeah.
Okay, so unlike the miscreants, these are adherents of the regulative principles of the scriptures, and they are called Sukritna, or those who obey the rules and regulations of scriptures, the moral and the social laws, and are more or less devoted to the Supreme Lord. Out of these, there are 4 classes of men: those who are sometimes distressed, those who are in need of money, those who are sometimes inquisitive, and those who are sometimes searching after the knowledge of the absolute truth. These persons come to the Supreme Lord for devotional service under different conditions. These are not pure devotees because they have some aspiration to fulfill in exchange for devotional service. Pure devotional service is without aspiration and without desire for material profit. The Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu defines pure devotion as thus. And
Anya bilashita shunyam jnana karmadhanarvitam anukulyena krishnanu shilaram bhaktaruttama. One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord favorably and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. That is called pure devotional service. So jnana karma means they're not seeking in bhakti the goals of jnana and the goals of karma, meaning the goal of karma is to get some material enjoyment. The goal of jnana is to get liberation. When these four kinds of persons come to the Supreme Lord for devotional service and are completely purified by the association of a pure devotee, they also become pure devotees. As far as the miscreants are concerned, for them devotional service is very difficult because their lives are selfish, irregular, and without spiritual goals. But even some of them, by chance, when they come in contact with a pure devotee, also become pure devotees. That's a really cool point. That's in I was reading in the later part of the Bhagavad Gītā, chapter 18. It's like text 70. It's in the 7. Krishna says, don't instruct this to someone who is a bhakta, not a devotee, not self-controlled, doesn't want to hear it. Shushena, doesn't want to hear it, and I forget there's 4 things that he gives, and I was reading something in the commentary. It's like, yeah, these people, they can't accept any of this, except for he said something like yeah, due to the association of great devotee. Dana K has entered the room. Let's see. Welcome, Dana K. Welcome, Dana K. Hare Krishna.
Oh, sorry. I don't know what my mind was drawing a blank today. Sorry. I'm late.
So who are not just austere, who are not devoted, or not engaged in devotional service, are one who is envious of me. And it says, don't explain to that, But then there was at some point it says someone, that by association of devotee, even such envious people, they can be warmed up. Because they're like, oh wait, I wasn't self-controlled, I wasn't devoted, I wasn't engaged in devotional service. Okay, Edward, do you want to continue the reading the purport? Those who are always
busy with fruitive activities come to the Lord in material distress, and at that time associate with pure devotees and become, in their distress, devotees of the Lord. Those who are simply frustrated also come sometimes to associate with the pure devotees and become inquisitive to know about God. Similarly, when the dry philosophers are frustrated in every field of knowledge, they sometimes want to learn of God, and they come to the Supreme Lord to render devotional service and thus transcend knowledge of the impersonal Brahman and the localized Paramatma, and come to the personal conception of Godhead by the grace of the Supreme Lord or his pure devotee. On the whole, when the distressed, the inquisitive, the seekers of knowledge, and those who are in need of money are free from all material desires, and when they fully understand that material remuneration has nothing to do with spiritual improvement, they become pure devotees. As long as such a purified stage is not attained, devotees in transcendental service to the Lord are tainted with fruitive activities, and they search after mundane knowledge, etc. So one has to transcend all this before one can come to the stage of pure devotional service.
Okay, and then I'm going to read the commentaries with the other acharyas as well. I don't know if you have the email up. We'll look at that there. So 4 types of religious persons worship me, O Arjuna. This is the Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, the first one on the list. The sufferer, the inquirer, the enjoyer, and the jnani. Then who worships you? 4 types worship me. Those who follow the rules of Varna Shrama, Sukritana, worship me. Among some of them who desire relief from affliction, from calamities like sickness, Some desire knowledge of Atma or desire knowledge of scriptures with grammar. And some desire enjoyment in this life and in the next with land, elephants, horses, women, gold, and other such things. These worship me. These are Sakama Grihastas. The fourth type, the Jnani, the sannyasi with pure heart, is Nishkama. These four types qualified for Pradhani Bhuta Bhakti, in which bhakti is the principal component, have been enumerated. The first three have Karma Mishra Bhakti, and the fourth, Jnana Mishra Bhakti. Later in the book, Yoga Mishra Bhakti will also be described in verses like Sarvadvani Samyamya. But Kevala Bhakti, unmixed with karma, was also described in the beginning of this chapter with words like Maya Sakta Mana Partha. Kevala Bhakti will also be described in the 8th chapter with Ananya Cheta Satatam, 8:14, and in 9th chapter with Mahatmanastamam Partha, and with Ananyas Chintayanto Mam, 9:22, 9:13, and 9:22. The Lord describes these two types of bhakti, Pradhani Bhuta and Kevala Bhakti, in the middle 6 chapters of the Gita. So Pradhani Bhuta means, that it's bhakti is a principal component of their religious life or spiritual life, but it's not Kevala, it is not pure. A third type of bhakti, Guna Bhuta Bhakti, a process in which bhakti is subsidiary, is seen in the karmis, jnanis, and yogis, who predominantly desire to results for their actions, bhukti and mukti. But because of the lack of predominance of bhakti, and instead with the predominance of karma, jnana, or yoga, it is not classified as bhakti. As things should be classified per predominance of quality, these are all classed as karma, jnana, and yoga, and practitioners are not classed as bhaktas, but as karmis, jnanis, or yogis. And the result of sakama karma is swarga. The result of nishkama karma is jnana yoga. And the result of jnana and ashtanga yoga is nirvana moksha, impersonal liberation. The results of two types of bhakti should also be stated. Among the types of pradhana bhuta bhakti, the first three are karma. The bhaktas are sakama. The result of their bhakti is attainment of respective desires, deliverance of suffering, attainment of scriptural knowledge, gain of material benefits. And after that, because of superior nature of the object of worship, the Lord, they attain liberation in the form of salokya, attaining the same planet, with predominance of happiness and powers. And there's no fall down in the case of enjoying swarga as a result of karma. It will be said, quote, those who worship me, come to me, 9:25. The result of jnana mishra bhakti, which is superior to others, is shanta rati bhava, as in the case of Sanaka and others. I think those are 4 Kumaras. Sometimes, because of an exceptional mercy of the Lord and his devotee, the result of jnana mishra bhakti is the supreme position of prema, as in the case of Shukadeva Goswami, which is he was an impersonalist. He was interested in the Brahmananda, the bliss of Brahman, but he became attracted to prema. If sakama bhakti, the first 3 types, becomes nishkama, without desires, the result of jnana mishra bhakti and the result of jnana mishra bhakti is stated above, shantarati. Sometimes also those who have jnana or kama mishra bhakti attain prema in dasya and higher rasas spontaneously. However, because of the previous impressions arising from association with devotees in that particular type of prema, however, that prema is predominated by the mood of reverence, aishvarya. The result of pure bhakti unmixed with jnana and karma is called ananya bhakti, akinchana bhakti, or uttama bhakti, which has many types, and is that one becomes associate of the Lord with Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, or Madhurya Prema. This is explained elaborately in the commentaries on the Bhagavatam as it is a matter related to the topic at hand. The distinctions in perfect bhakti have been briefly discussed. Okay, so that was an elaborate purport. Now this is Baladev Vidyabhushana. 4 types of persons worship me, or Arjuna: the enjoyer, and the jnani. And then I think I might have, looks like it was cut off. It only says 2 in the email. Then who worships you? Those who are actually learned, who are engaged in their designated activities according to Varnashram, and have love for me alone, worship me. And there's a little footnote. It would appear that these 4 types are neither Parinishta devotees nor Sanishta devotees, but they progress after many births to being Parinishta devotees. This is a particular classification that Baladev Vidyabhushan uses. See if I can remember. Sanishta, Parinishta, and then there's one other one. There's Parinishta, Nishta, Sanishta, and Nirapiksha. This is only a classification that he uses. Parinishta, it seems like a good Vedic follower, kind of like a good Hindu, is involved in the culture. And because Krishna Bhakti is mixed in the culture, he eventually becomes. And such a person follows all the rules of Varnashram. Then the Parinishta is an actual purified devotee. And they also follow the rules and regulations, like Krishna tells Arjuna that he should follow all the rules of Varnashram, not because he necessarily he is obliged to do so, but to be a good example for others. Like Krishna says himself, I don't have to do all this stuff, but I do it because if I didn't, the whole world would fall into peril. So I should follow the codes of civilized spiritual culture, Varna Ashrama, the basic Vedic culture. I follow those duties. So the Parinishta, and then the Nirapiksha are like the sannyasis or the Babajis, who are they're kind of detached from the cultural aspect, and they're just focusing on their devotion. Maybe they're just chanting. They're not doing fire sacrifices and other kind of sort of duties. Actually, I wanted to go through just basically take all the comments on these 3 and compile them in a big note so I can easier understand. Oh, here, look, it gave the example that we gave earlier, the Denike Mest. There's examples in the Bhagavatam of the 4 types of people who come to God: the distress, the seeker of wealth, the curious, and those who are seeking divine. And so here we go. There are 4 types. Some are afflicted by disaster, arta, such as pain from enemies. They desire to eliminate that suffering. Gajendra the elephant is the example of this type. Others desire knowledge of the nature of the Atma distinct from the body. They're curious. Shanaka is an example of this type. These are the sages of Naimisharanya. Others desire wealth such as a kingdom, arta arti. Dhruva is an example of this type. Jnani already knows himself as Atma, the part, Shesha, and me as Paramatma, the shelter of the part, Sheshi. Shuka is an example of this type. Of these, the first 3 types are called Sakama, having desires. The Jnani, however, is Nishkama, without desire. The inquisitive type is placed between, here we go. I remember I said I was wondering why it says the distress, the curious, and the seeker of wealth, and then the seeker of divine. Why was the the curious put in between, because that's not the actual natural order. It would be the hierarchy would be the distress, the seeker of wealth, the curious, and the seeker of the divine. And so here, I remember somewhere I read it. So here's the answer. The inquisitive type is placed in between the sufferer and the desire of wealth and the sequence in this verse because of hopes that these two types will develop inquisitiveness in the future. It's like it's like the battery stuck in between, and it gives power to each side. All right. And here's a little nice note from Nectar Devotion, chapter 3, page 31 and 32, to the Prabhupada. Without being elevated to the position of a jnani, one cannot stick to devotional service. A jnani has realized that he is a spirit soul and that Krishna is a supreme spirit. Therefore, he makes his relationship with Krishna, not the body. All right. Any reflections so far? Edward G. Carlos G.
No, Prabhu, I just missed that last part. I just quickly went to the washroom.
Oh, I don't know if I remember I said at the beginning when we were reading, I said there's some reason I remember hearing why the jigyas, or the inquisitive, the curious one, is placed in between. And it says here, Baladeva Vibhushana says, where did I go? The inquisitive type is placed in between the sufferer and the desire of wealth. Artha, Jigyasu, Artha, Arti. In the sequence in the verse, because of hopes that these two types will develop inquisitiveness in the future. So if it goes right, if it goes well, then they'll also be in that category. They won't just be, oh, I seek God out of distress. They'll also become a little purified and become a little bit more thoughtful, inquisitive, and curious. Because the natural way would be artha, distress, artha, arti, seeker of wealth, inquisitive, and seeker of the divine. That would be like the actual hierarchy. All right. This is a very famous verse. It's going to be, when you read and stuff, you should come across it quite often. I don't think Dana K was here for, but I also mentioned this is related to the 4 varnas. Do you know what the word varna means? There are 4 varnas and 4 ashrams.
I'm forgetting.
Okay, so you have your social body, and everywhere you look, you'll find this social body. It is not a Hindu thing. Everywhere in the world, you have working class people, employees, laborers. Everywhere in the world, you have people who know how to set up some business, how to get some people working for them, business-minded people. How to have some, mercantilism, trade, how to, maybe be not so dependent on that security of working for somebody, but a little bit more daring when I start a business. They have a little bit more confidence in their abilities, and they'll try. Like some of these, I think it's called Sindhis. Like there's a certain class of folks in Punjab or India, I forget what part, but they're very daring businessmen. They said they'll go bankrupt 8 times before they become like a multimillionaire, because they have this daring business kind of venture capitalists, Then you have the Kshatriyas. You have those who have political power, those who have power within the management of governance and society. And then you'll have those who are attracted to intellectual fields, doctors, philosophers, teachers. And you find all these classes, not all, those who are doctors, philosophers, and teachers, those who are political power, those in business, they're all meant to actually not just do physical work, but they're also meant to imbibe certain characteristics, certain virtues. Like the Brahmanas are meant to be self-controlled. Those who are like priests and doctors and things like that, they're meant to not be so controlled by wealth, be simple in their dealings and honest and straightforward. And the Kshatriyas are meant to be bold in the protection of others. The Vaishyas, the businessmen, are supposed to be very charitable, because as what we hear Kushtubha says, each one has their own anarta, their own unwanted quality. Arta is like wealth, but anarta, some unwanted quality. So they deal with it in certain ways. The businessmen are supposed to be charitable and helpful for others. So these also relate to these four who come to God, are related to the four varnas. The employee class, why are they not jumping into the business? They could see, this person, that person made more money making business. That I make, in my office, in my business, the boss is the one who makes the real money. We make, an insignificant amount of money, but there's a sense of fear there, a sense of not wanting to have that, taking the security of that dependence, the security of being in a company versus like doing it on one's own self. And so they usually come to God in distress. The working class kind of mood is there's a sense of fear and distress. And the business class, why do they come? What does it say in the verse? Seeking wealth. And yet, you find so many folks going to the temple. And what are they praying for? Praying for wealth. Then you have the Kshatriyas. They really want to know who's in charge. And so they may come to God or religion to find out who's actually in charge of this world. And the Brahmanas are seeking the divine. So they actually are categorized as jnanis, that person who is purely seeking the divine. Any questions? All right, so here we can practice. Chaturvida bhajante mam. Yeah. Chaturvida bhajante mam.
Chaturvida bhajante mam.
Jana sukritino Arjuna.
Jana sukritino Arjuna.
Jana sukritino Arjuna.
Jana sukritino Arjuna.
Arto jigyasur artha arti.
Artu jigyasur artharti.
Arto jigyasur artha arti.
Arto jigyasur artharti.
Jnanicha bharatarshava.
Jnanicha bharatarshava.
Jnanicha bharatarshava.
Jnanicha bharatarshava.
So you've heard this term Anarta. Anarta. We want to get rid of the Anartas in our heart. The unwanted qualities, things that are not Arta. Let's see. Let me look up the word Arta. Let's see. Veda base. What do we get? Share the screen. Asaka. Arta. There are two meanings. Initiation lecture. Arta means something. Okay, we have Arta. Oh, what verse is this? I wonder if this is so we've got developed consciousness, intelligence we can utilize. This is called Artadam. Oh, I love this verse, Artadam. This is Kumar Acharet Pragyo. This is the boy Prahlad. He says, from when you're 5 years old, Kumar, when you're just when you have any little bit of intelligence, Kumar Acharet. Achar means to practice. Like Acharya is someone who practices what they preaches. Acharat Pragya, one who is sufficiently intelligent. Dharman Bhagavataniha, Bhagavat Dharma, Krishna Bhakti in this iha, in this life. Durlabham Manusham, because labha, to obtain manusha, human body, is durlabha, it's very rare. Tad adruvam, and although it is very short-lived, it is adruvam, it is not dhruva, permanent, it is impermanent. It is arta dham. It gives great substantiality. It's a great benefit because dar in Espanol, dar means to give. So arta dham means it gives wealth. It gives something substantial. So there are two types of arta, arta sastra. Arta sastra means economics, how to increase wealth. That is called arta. So arta dham, the human life can bestow upon you arta. This is Prabhupada's lecturing or quoting famous verse by Prahlad Maharaj. Arta means something substantial. Generally, we understand substantial means money. But if somebody gets money, that substance for material comforts, of course. But the real substantial thing is Krishna consciousness. That is the real substance, arta dham. So Vedic literature, Veda's meaning, when it says arta dham, in this life you achieve the substance. That substance means Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, taking it substance to mean multimillionaire or millions of dollars, that is also arta, but is anityam. What does nitya means? Nitya means eternal. So anityam, impermanent. That substance will not be carried by you. No, you come here empty-handed by the womb of your mother, and when you leave this place, you also go empty-handed. Not because you have earned millions of dollars, Mr. Rockefeller or Ford, you can carry this. No, the Rockefeller Center will remain there where it is, but you will have to go empty-handed. I was just there last week, Rockefeller Center. So when it said arta dham, you achieve the substance, that does not mean arta, temporary, which would not be carried. It will be left behind. That is going on. I will create something in this life. Okay, so here we get this arta. Arta. You see this bahir arta.
We had touched this word before, but I was actually wrong. It was something very similar though, and I just went back to chapter 15, and I'm not sure if you know, but it's I just lost it actually, but vinivrita, I think that's the word, vinivrita, disassociated. So for some reason I was stuck with, like, I thought I saw this word before, anarta or arta, but it's vinivrita. So I was kind of wrong in a sense. It's kind of like a similar word because it's like disassociated, and the other one is arta, right? Like what we just talked about.
3:18, 3:7, 13. Yeah, nothing for 15. Chapter 7, just once. Artha Jigyasu Artha. So this one is spelled Artha. Just aggrieved. I think that's all probably quoting the same verse, but yeah, it looks like this is a different word. Feeling pain, aggrieved, distressed, afflicted. Yeah, it seems like this is Eva Artha. The aspirated H one with the TH. Although they look very similar. This is wealth and this is distress. Artha and Artaha. Artaha.
It's funny because sometimes wealth does bring distress.
Oh yeah.
I was just going to say that.
As soon as you have wealth, then you have to worry, how am I going to protect it? You know, how am I going to keep it from getting taken? So one of the main stages of bhakti that we go through is Anarta Nivritti. When we have to try to deal with the destruction, Sarva Narta Nasha, destruction of all the unwanted things in the heart. Simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna, one can be freed from all undesirable habits. Sarva Narta Nasha. Nasha means destruction. Nash. This means it awakens all good fortune and initiating the flow of waves of love for Krishna. Nama Sankirtan hoite sarva narta nash. Sarva Buddha dhoi Krishna prema ulas. The Chaitanya Charitamrita is a different melody, but it's simple and sweet. Those are nice. They're short too. Nice short verses. Okay, so yeah, I just wanted to make it show we can focus on that, the meaning of the words. What does jana mean? Vishnu jana, Hari jana. Jana means people. Vishnu jana, Hari jana means people of Vishnu, people of Hari. Vida, that's another good word. That's something that will come across sometimes. Vida is like types or divisions. Let's see. Bhagavad Gītā 7. Pritak Vida, differently arranged. I'm going to take off the, let's just put the A. And let's put starts with Bahuvida, various kinds of. Chaturvida, 4 kinds. Chaturvida. Oh, 15 here. Chaturvidam. Carlos, 4 types of food.
Yes.
Dvivida, 2 kinds. Nanavidani, Pritakvidani. This is someone who sees Krishna divided as into many. No, that's a different verse. Sorry. Pritakvidan. Variously arranged. Various qualities. 3 kinds. Trivida, Vida, Vidana. It's a different word. Okay. Chaturvida bhajante. We know this one. This is bhajan. Bhajan. Worship. Worship with love. This is different. Prabhupada says this is different from puja. This is a loving worship. Bhajan. Puja may be for the different, demigods, but bhajan is for Krishna. It is loving relationship. Chaturvida bhajante mam. Jana sukritano arjuna arto jigyasur artha arti jnanicha bharatarshava. Okay, so Edward, you want to give us a chant one line at a time?
Chaturvidha bhajante mam. Jana sukrutinarjuna.
Jana sukritana arjuna.
Arto jignasur artarti.
Arto jigyasur arta arti.
Jnani cha bharatarshabha.
Jnani cha bharatarshabha. Okay. Again, one more time, Edward.
Chaturvidha bhajante mam.
Chaturvida bhajante mam.
Jana sukrutinarjuna.
Jana sukritana arjuna.
Arto jignasur artarti.
Arto jigyasur arta arti.
Jnani cha bharatarshabha.
Jnani cha bharatarshabha. Now, can you close your eyes and say the first line? Chatur, the first four. I think it's muted. Edward, would you like to unmute it and do it? Give it a practice?
Oh, I didn't realize I was muted. How did that happen? Chaturvida bhajante mam.
Chaturvida bhajante mam.
Jana sukrutin arjuna.
Jana sukritana arjuna. The distressed.
Oh, distressed arto.
And the curious. Inquisitive.
Jignasur artarti.
Yeah, arto jigyasu arta arti.
Jnani cha bharatarshabha.
Jnani cha bharatarshabha. Nice. Carlos G, you gonna give it a shot?
Sure. Chaturvida bhajante mam.
Chaturvida bhajante mam.
Jana sukritino arjuna.
Jana sukritana arjuna.
Arto jigyasur artharti.
Arto jigyasur arta arti.
Jnani cha bharatarshabha.
Jnani cha bharatarshabha. You want to close your eyes?
Yeah, let's try that.
Okay.
Chaturvida bhajante mam.
Chaturvida bhajante mam. People. Jana.
Janati.
Jana. Sukritino.
Sukritino. Janati sukritino.
Not Janati, but Jana.
Oh,
Jana sukritino arjuna.
Jana sukritino arjuna. So what does sukritino mean again?
Kriti is credits. Duskriti and su. So do is bad and su is good. So those who are pious, they have their credits, but they use it in the right way. They use it in a good way.
So Jana sukritino arjuna, and then arta
Arto jigyasur.
Arto jigyasur. See, I have to go back and see it.
Arto jigyasur arta arti.
Arto jigyasur artharti. Arta arti. Okay. Arto jigyasur artha arti. And
Jnanicha.
Jnanicha.
Bharatashabha.
Bharatarshabha. Okay, so he's like he calls Arjuna twice on this, right? On the second and the fourth.
Yeah, Arjuna and Bharatarshabha. Yeah.
Okay, good to know.
Chaturvida bhajante mam.
Chaturvida bhajante mam.
Jana sukritino Arjuna.
Jana sukritino Arjuna.
Artho jigyasur artha arti.
Arto jigyasur artharthi.
Jnanicha Bharatarshabha.
Jnanicha Bharatarshabha.
Rishabha. Let's see what does it say. Rishabha, the best of, or Lord of, chief of. Okay. Do you want to try it with your eyes closed? Carlos G?
Oh yeah, sure. I'll try again. Thank you for putting me on the spot. Chaturvida bhajante mam.
Chaturvida bhajante mam.
Jana. Sorry?
Jana.
Yeah. Jana. So this means, what's Jana? Humans? Sorry.
People, yeah. Humans.
People. Okay, Jana. Oh yeah, the Krito. Sukrito?
Sukritino.
Sukritino. Jana Sukritino Arjuna.
Jana Sukritino Arjuna.
The next one is
Arto.
Arto. Artanti. No, I forgot that one.
Jigyasur.
Arto
Jigyasur.
Artanti.
Arta Arti.
Arta Arti. So oh man, I'm failing right now.
So okay. Arta Arti, he desires material gain.
Right. Arto is like done with, or what does it say?
Arta is something of substantial substance. I think you're equating it with Anarta. Anarta means without the artas.
Oh.
Without the unwanted artas. Arta means like wealth, substance.
Why does it say here the distress, Arta?
So when we looked at that earlier, this is a different word. This TH, this is Artaha, and this is Arta. They're actually, they may not have the same, they look very similar, but they may not actually have the same roots. Because if you look at this, it's all about being distressed, aggrieved, feeling pain and suffering. Dukkha Arta, sorry, plight. Now, if you look at the word Arta, it is desire, Arta bhavam, substance, gain. Let's see, Arta, meaning, substance. Alpa, small purpose. So alpa means little bit, but substance, little purpose, little gain, purpose, wealth, economic. So they seem to be not the same words. Arto, Artaha versus Arta. So they're very similar, but it doesn't seem like they exactly have the same roots.
Yeah. Arto jigyasur artharti. Arta arti.
So arti means like the person who wants. the things of want.
Say that again. The person who wants
The things of want.
uh,
Wants that which is wanted. Desire. He wanted the phala, the fruits. Hankering. One who desires. Wanting jala, wants some water. Phala, wants some fruit. Wants some shreya, some ultimate benefit. Sthana, wants some milk. So the person who wants the things of want, things of substance, things that you want, the wanter of things that you want.
it might be a little bit tricky for me right now, but you know, give it a few more days and I'll get it probably.
Yeah. So artha, artho, jigyasur, artha, arti.
Arto jigyasur artanti.
Artha, arti. So just say the word twice, but with the I at the end.
Yes. So
Artha, arti.
Jigyasur artha arti.
Yes. Jnani cha bharata shiva.
Jnana cha sharada.
Jnani.
Jnani.
Yeah. Because it's not like it's jnana would be the knowledge, but jnani is the one who's seeking.
Jnani cha bharatarshava.
Yes.
Okay.
So Dana K, you're here with Edward and Carlos, these big Sanskrit guys. So we'll go one word at a time.
Oh boy. Okay.
Chatur.
Chatur.
So there's ekam, dve, trini,
Okay.
chatvari,
Okay.
pancha. These are the numbers.
Right.
Chatur is 4.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. Chatur, vida,
Vida.
bhajante mam.
Bhajante mum.
What does mam mean?
Me? Onto me? It says.
Yes. And bhajante. Bhajan. What is bhajan?
Services. Render services.
Yes. Loving service, worship. Jana, sukritino, jana, janaha.
Jana. Jana.
Yeah. Or jana.
Jana.
Yeah. Like there's a famous devotee who used to lead beautiful kirtans, Vishnu Jana.
Jana.
Vishnu Jana, sannyasi disciple of Prabhupada. Sukritino.
This one's tough. Sukritino.
Yeah. Arjuna.
Arjuna.
Arto.
Arto. Okay, this
Arto. Yeah.
These next couple words are like, woo. Okay. Arto.
You just say like, ow, arta. It's thinking like you're distressed, like someone pinches you and you go, arta. 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 Just think of distress. Ow.
That's good. That's good. Arto.
Jigyasur.
Oh my. Jignas. Say it again.
G.
G.
Gya.
Yeah.
Sur.
Sore.
Yeah. So gya is the root for knowledge. Jigyasur means a person who is curious, inquisitive, just trying to figure things out. Not just to the same level of a jnani. A jnani is one who is really seeking God, the divine. But there's a lot of people who come across bhakti because they're just like, oh, I'm interested in learning about yoga, and I want to learn about this. I want to learn about that.
Right.
They just want to learn things, and they come across it. and they're just seeking to learn things. They just want to be an educated person or knowledgeable person. And so they read a lot of different things. So they're inquisitive, they're curious, they're jigyasu.
Jigyasu. Sar.
Sur.
Sur.
Yeah. Ji.
G.
Gya.
Ya.
Sur.
Sur. I don't know why that one is like the hardest out of this whole thing.
So Ji.
G.
Gya.
Ya. Sur.
Sur. Yeah. Arto jigyasur.
Arto. Jigasur.
Yeah. And you got to say that long A. Arto jigyasur.
Arto. G. Now it's like, now I pause.
Jigyasur.
Sor. Oh
Arto
boy.
jigyasur.
Arto. Jigaso. Oh well, I'll work on it.
Arta.
Arta.
Arti.
RT. Arta. RT.
Yeah. Gyani cha.
Yani cha.
Bharatarshaba.
Bharatarshaba.
Yes. There you go.
Sorry.
No. Thank you. All right. Any last comments or questions? To practice this.
I've got a question.
Put it on your fridge, and you got to say at least one line before you can get your bean burrito out of the freezer. Chaturvida pachante. So every time you go to the fridge, you got to read one line. Yeah. If your family members let you do it, print it up or write it on a piece of paper. Even writing it's good, yeah. Try to, because then that writing, Prabhupada says to write means to remember. So when you write things, it helps. How does that sound, Dana K?
I like that idea. I need to have it in a couple of different places, and then I'll be, I'll be like, oh, gotta do this.
Yeah, don't put it on the bathroom door like you're like, okay, I gotta go. I can't wait for this.
That's a good one.
Front door. I don't know. Otherwise, you'll be the one in coming in distress. Krishna. We'll be the seeking Krishna out of distress. Yeah. Carlos G, any takeaways?
Oh no, I was just trying to maybe just write it out loud. The jigyasur.
Yeah, I like that one.
Jigyasur. It's kind of difficult actually. I often think about like kind of two words, and I don't think it's actually two words. It's Jnani. I don't see the G. Let me see here. Oh yeah, it is one word. Jigyasu. But for some reason I tried to separate. Maybe this can help Dana because it helps me. I try to separate the G and the Gyasud because just saying Gyasu or Jnana is like one whole thing, and saying Jigyasud is like it's like two words. So.
Thank you, Carlos.
It's one word, but yeah, I like to just think about it like that. Jigyasud. No other reflections, Prabhu. I just I missed the previous class, so I'm looking forward to listening to it, and yeah, we'll go from there.
Okay. Yeah, last one was just a lot of reading. They're the four types. The G. I don't know if you see how I wrote it. G.
G.
Gyasur.
Jigyasur.
Nice. Edward G, some takeaways?
I don't have a takeaway, but I've got a question about memorization in general.
Yes.
I'm just wondering if you've got tips for this. Once I get, a few weeks past a verse, I forget the long vowels particularly. I mean, some are easy just because the way the verse goes, it's easy to remember them, but some are difficult. And then also, I don't know if you pay attention to the two different kinds of sh. I keep forgetting to. I'm trying to remember to pay attention to the two different kinds, but again, a few weeks later, it's like, well, which sh was that? I don't remember.
Yeah. Well, one thing, I would definitely suggest, with this, chant. If we're on text 16, so we're chant. Hopefully, a good practice for everyone here to do is to chant. Even if you don't have it memorized, read verses 1 through 16, or chant it. Chant. But then, I do my chanting, but then every once in a while we also have to go back and actually read it and realize, okay, wait a minute, I thought I was saying it like this. There's a the what really can, if you're chanting it not very conscientiously, what happens also is like you'll come across a verse that has a very similar ending to another verse, and then you'll be like pulled to that section. And you'll be like, wait, why am I chanting chapter 15? I'm supposed to be chanting chapter 7. Or no. Sometimes I get pulled from chapter 7 to chapter 9. I think it is.
That totally happened to me, Prabhu, yesterday, just warming up again. Like I haven't recited my shlokas in a while. And I started just reciting, like, for example, I think it was chapter 15. And then I mixed up in one text, like the chapter 7, the ending of one. With the chapter.
The Mamebhya Param Avyam. This one gets me because there's a lot of verses that end with Avyam. And I somehow I'll chant this and I think I'll use the wrong ending. I'll use like something from 15 or 9, and then I'll start going that way. So although it's important to like it's important to do the chanting, because that's what's going to solidify it, especially chanting 1 through 16, from the very first verse that you learned of the chapter all the way to the end, because 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, all that stuff is going to be very strong, but then going back and also reading.
Yeah, I was chanting actually 2 or 3 times a day. I was chanting the whole thing, but that was when we only had 4 or 5 verses. As we get along. So maybe that's part of my problem, is I'm just not doing that enough, because I was much better at chanting everything we'd learned so far when we didn't have so many.
Yeah, I have a checklist of things that I do, and one of them is I do I chant a chapter from memory. There's a whole book called Gita Bhushana from the Padma Purana, and it's just glorifying all these circumstances where people would get liberation or some kind of great benediction just by, some accidental connection from somebody who was chanting a chapter of Gita a day. Like, I think I told you the story. There was I don't know what chapter this is for. There's 18 stories, because there's 18 chapters. And each chapter has its own story. So there was a Brahmana. It's a really cool story. It's a Brahmana, and he was a musician. And because he was a musician, the king took a great liking to him. And the king was a total materialistic enjoyer. He was a total debauchee kind of. So the Brahmana, in association with the king, he was like the king and his rock star musician friend. And so although he grew up and he became Naradama, he grew up in great civilization, Brahmana, sense controlled, study, blah, 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 but he became a total, rock star, which is a sensuous life. And then he married this lady who is also just a sensuous, you could say, they're both of them were sluts. The husband was a slut, the wife was a slut. And the wife cheated on him. The wife came to know that the husband knew about her infidelity. And so she poisoned him because she was worried, he knows, so I'm going to get him first, So she poisoned him. And then it described that she later also died of venereal disease. So they both died. And they went to the hellish planets, suffered terribly. Then they appeared before Yamaraj, and he had them take birth as they both separately, they took birth as birds. He was a vulture and she was born as a parrot. But due to some divine arrangement, he could remember his previous life. I don't know, both, or at least he could. I think it was both. And so he saw that parrot one day, and he's like, "You damn bitch." Okay. And so they started fighting each other, and like fighting and like trying to kill each other. And this hunter is watching, what's the best time to catch a prey is when it's going for another prey, it's totally absorbed. So the hunter had his arrow and he shot, and the arrow, I think it hit both of their wings, and they fell down. And on the bottom of the jungle floor was a human skull, and their heads, they're kind of, flying down like that, and their heads fell in the area of the skull. The skull was full of water, and they drowned in that water and died. Then they appeared before Yamaraj, and Yamaraj says, "Yeah, your karma's done. I believe it says now you guys go to the spiritual world." And they're like, "What the heck? Why?" He said, "Well, that gentleman's skull there was somebody who chanted such and such chapter of the Bhagavad Gītā every day. Now you guys are purified. Go to the spiritual world." So there's like all these stories like that, glorifying the chanting of a chapter daily. So I have an app called Things, and I got my reading, my japa, just different tasks, things I have to do for work or things like that. Just called Things. All kinds of things to do for work and just daily tasks. So one of them is that chant a chapter, and that. So I would suggest to take that as a maybe as a New Year's resolution. Chant all the verses, or at least one chapter. You can do, switch. If Carlos has chapter 15, 1 month he does chapter 15, and then the next month he does all his chapter 7 verses. Usually, I've been doing chapter 7 since we started this class. It was always only chapter 15, but then I was like, oh man, my chapter 7's rusty. Gets rusty though. So then, daily practice chanting that helps. But then also going back and reading. But the daily practice, then comes a point where it's really solidify it. It won't go away, and even if you fell out of the practice for many weeks, but if you've done it daily, there's a good chance that most of it's there, and maybe like just a few errors here and there, but it's always something you can fall back on. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Krishna, thank you.
Hare Krishna.